Congress looks a lot different than it used to. No, I'm not talking about the deadlock. Today, there are fewer veterans serving in Congress. Just over 30 years ago, nearly half of House members and 70% of senators had prior military experience. Now that number is less than 20% in both chambers. But that could soon change as a record number of veterans run for office this year. And some groups are working to support veterans who want to serve their country in a new way. Joining us now, New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill, former Navy helicopter pilot, and Ry Barkott, co-founder and CEO of With Honor. He's also a Marine Corps veteran and author of the new book, Courage Can Save Us, 10 Extraordinary Americans and the Fight for Our Future. Governor Sherrill, you spent almost 10 years on active duty with the Navy. How has your time in the military informed how you've served in Congress and now as governor?
I've thought a lot about that and how it impacts you. And I think what Ry's book does so well is chart out some of those aspects of service and what veterans have done in their military service that lends itself so well to these times when we're facing a lot of crises. And I just think about what your Navy training teaches you. I remember my very first cruise when it was right after my freshman or plebe year at the Naval Academy. We were in really rough seas. A classmate of mine fell, hit her head and wasn't breathing. Her heart wasn't beating. So another classmate of mine and I gave her rescue breathing, CPR for hours as we were waiting for the helicopter to come in, and it was struggling to get in the weather to rescue her. And I think about that moment because it was just the start of the constant training to run toward the fight, to handle the crisis. You can't freeze in a crisis. You can't turn away from it. We often say in the military, the only way out is through. And in these times, we have so many politicians who don't want to get engaged in things if it's bad for their political career. They're afraid they'll say something that'll blow back on them. That is not what these times require. These times require true leadership and taking strong stances and making sure you're focused on the people that have elected you to serve.
That is a harrowing experience, but a poignant reminder that we have to go right through the fire sometimes. Ry, we saw a generational decline in the number of vets in office. Why is it important now to be recruiting veterans, maybe now more than ever?
Well, thank you so much. It started with Honor almost 9 years ago and was thrilled to be right there with Governor Sherrill as one of the first veterans that our organization supported. We kicked off this book, Courage Can Save Us, which profiles her and 9 others, including Governor Wes Moore yesterday and Representative Don Bacon. It's a bipartisan group. I think about courage, most importantly, as a form of service. It's different from bravery. Bravery can be instinctive. It can be self-serving. Courage is always a decision to face risk in the service of what the Stoics called the common good. It can be your family. It can be your friends. It can be your community. And in the case of these 10 Americans, here at the eve of our 250th, it's the country and putting the country first. Why are there fewer veterans? Well, there are fewer veterans in the population, but it's a higher number than in the U.S. right now. So there are 5% of roughly of the United States are veterans. Less than 2% of Americans are serving either in the military or in civilian service. Yet Congress is about 20%. And this cycle, our organization, With Honor, which is the only organization that tracks every veteran that runs, regardless of party across the country, just announced that this is the highest number of veterans, 752, across the country we've ever seen, including a near doubling of women veterans from both parties and independents, almost 95, I think, motivated in large part by the example of Governor Mikey Sherrill, the first ever woman veteran governor ever elected in U.S. history.
Governor, why do you think more veterans are stepping forward into that courage right now?
It makes sense to me as people have served their country, they've taken oaths, and I think what's going on in the country right now demands leadership and a focus on those values, and we're seeing too many people shy away from that, and that draws veterans who've spent a lifetime serving the country. They want to continue that service and provide that leadership. They've been trained to do just that, and we've seen an impact. I think when you look at some of the people who have focused on those key issues that people across the country are facing, that are focused on families, focused on our values, focused on our Constitution, many of those leaders are veterans, people who've had that national service experience. I also know that those types of people are better trusted by Americans who want to know that if you're stepping up to serve, if you're stepping up to run for office, you're doing it for the right reasons, not in service to yourself, but in service to your country.
Ry, how can veterans help heal the deep divides in this country? Where should they start first when they run for public office? And why are they uniquely qualified and capable of helping to bridge divides?
Yeah, so my organization, With Honor, which receives all the proceeds of the sales from Courage Can Save Us, is focused on helping to train, recruit, elect, and then support veterans, but not all veterans. And typically we're very selective. We support about 10% each cycle, roughly 50-50 across party lines. And they take a pledge to serve with integrity, civility, and courage, including the courage to work across party lines, not compromise your views and your values, but have common trust and respect to talk about serious issues, particularly in national security, veterans affairs, national service. Overall, this group of veterans, of which Governor Mikey Sherrill was one key member of and a founding vice chair of the caucus, has passed over 200 laws at a time when very little is getting done in this place behind me. They passed over 200 laws over the last 8 years. So we encourage veterans to check out With Honor. And if you're interested in serving in elected office, check it out. But most importantly, just serve. That is the driving point of this book. Whether you're a veteran or not, service can give you a sense of purpose. And through service, you can find and rise to the occasion to meet moments with courage, both physical and moral. It makes yourself better. It makes the United States better. And we need a lot more of it.
Governor, just before I let you go, we only have a minute left or so, but can I get your reaction to the breaking news we've been following out of the White House, the nomination of Jay Clayton as the next DNI?
He doesn't have the qualifications. I mean, when you compare him to Avril Haines, just because somebody has a modicum of integrity does not make them qualified for some of these really tough jobs. And right now, we are in a war with Iran because Trump has largely not hired qualified people. He has the most incompetent Secretary of Defense we've ever seen in this nation. He can't chart a way out of it. This is a time for people with deep experience and intelligence to help chart this path out to get to a better place. And instead, this is who he's putting forth. It's really just another way in which this administration continues to fail the United States of America.
Governor Mikey Sherrill and Ry Barkhout, thank you both so much. Appreciate you joining us today.